start the recording. And Michael, we are live.
You start the same show though. You start the show the same way every time. Let me do my thing. Yeah. Hi, this is Michael Waitze, and welcome back to E-commerce Undercover. As always, we have a French guy here whose name I apparently cannot pronounce properly, Martin Ronfort, the founder of DrTech, and then a German guy whose name I cannot pronounce correctly, Andre Buerger.
Yeah,
close enough.
Buerger, actually.
Buerger, sorry, close enough. But I told you, when I say it the right way,
Yeah.
I sound like a guy who's trying to say it the right way. Anyway, a senior executive at the CP Group. Let's talk e-commerce.
Yeah, let's talk e-commerce, Michael.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? So I was reading actually last week. Was it last week or was it yesterday?
It was yesterday. But we talked about
Yesterday.
that, yeah.
So in TechCrunch, I think there was a story about a company called, well, what you guys would mispronounce as Shogun.
Yeah.
I at least owed that to you guys, right?
Michael, don't do too much joke about our accent. Because we are two European guys here.
Yeah.
I'm outnumbered for sure. I'm the only Asian guy in the room for sure. But the story about Shogun said that they had raised $67.5 million. And maybe, Martin, you can explain what Shogun actually does, but it just blew us away when we read about this. And because you have a long e-commerce experience, I want to start with this, get your impressions, and then I think we've got a few other things we want to cover as well. So what do they do?
Definitely. So basically, Shogun, if you want to say the Japanese way, basically what they do is that they help e-commerce merchants to design a store with a drag and drop builder. So you don't need to know how to code. You don't need to know you don't need to hire a developer. You can just use their drag and drop builder. There are some themes that are already pre-built.
Okay.
And you can just use that and design your stores the way you want. Because if you go to marketplaces, for example, you cannot really design whatever you want. Like you do to Amazon, every product page is the same, whatever's the brain.
Yep.
And also, if you go to website builder like Shopify, for example, and you want to have a special design on your store, you can buy a theme. But even after that, when you have a theme, if you want to just customize something because you want to look different or you want to look just yourself,
right,
you get to have a developer to change that. So basically, what they do is they give you the ability to create your own design, your own branding, your own marketing without being a developer with a drag and drop builder.
Got it. Okay. So
and it's based on Shopify.
And exactly, yeah, they are exclusively based on Shopify. They also work a little bit now with BigCommerce, with is another CMS or website builder provider. But yeah, that's it. They are not open for any kind of website, just Shopify.
Interesting. Well, generally, it's nothing new, right? To have sort of WordPress, I think, is the most popular back in the days example, where it is multiple designers and coders that have created themes and then plugins to kind of be able to create the story you want to have.
But $67.5 million at a valuation of, what did they say, $575 million?
Something like that. And this is really what blown my mind, because they're just doing something for Shopify, not for every website in the world. And also they state that they have 20,000 customers. So I don't think it's 20,000 active customers. I think it's 20,000 customers. But even if it's 20,000 active customers, you mentioned, for example, WordPress, the page builder on WordPress, they have millions of customers.
Yes.
Really, they have so much, because the pool of available website is so much bigger.
WordPress is 60% of the internet or 40%. It's a big number.
It's still huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And the company for example, Elegant Theme, who is doing TV, the company Elementor, they both have millions of customers. So if a company who has 20,000 customers is worth 500 million, what's a company like Divi, for example?
But 20,000 customers, and if you do a little bit of simple math, right? If you go right down the middle and say that all 20,000 customers are paying $150 a month, not a year, a month, it's only $3 million.
Yeah,
that's $36 million.
Yeah. So the question is, what is it spent on, right? What is it to expand? Is it to get more developers in to offer even more themes and plugins? I think that's the question here.
So here's my theory. Tell me what you think. I think they just raised a bunch of money at whatever crazy valuation they wanted to raise because they have a side deal, an unspoken kind of wink deal with Shopify.
That's what I thought, actually. Yeah, you said it first.
For them to be acquired. If you can get to 30,000 customers, we don't want to build this stuff, but we need to have this functionality. and we'll pay you $1 billion for it. So all the investors were just like, okay, what's the valuation? Half of that? I'll double my money in 6 months.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Right. So this raises so many problems that we talk about on this show with venture capital investing, inside information, all this kind of stuff. But do you disagree with that theory that I just had? No?
No, I agree.
Okay.
I had the same thought, actually. And so I think us sitting here in Bangkok, Southeast Asia, it's still quite different. E-commerce still works differently. I think there's one gentleman in the TDBK Startup Booster program that actually runs a few stores in Europe, I believe. And so I think those, I think we can call it brand.com sort of, even though it's smaller independent brands. It's more common to have their own website, to do their own, you mentioned it, their own marketing, their own funnel building. It's still, from what I see, relatively small here in Southeast Asia, but it's compensated by social commerce, right? So that's just one thought I have on this topic.
So the other thing was, the other headline actually for this story said, as it says, they raised all this money at this valuation, as retailers look to do what? To move for options away from marketplaces.
Yeah.
Good point. So I think Amazon in most of the Western countries, and then 2-3 companies here in Southeast Asia, own the majority of the market. Back to social commerce, maybe a little bit. It's hard to actually sort of put a number on it. Because it's hard to measure. But I believe it's actually growing more than the actual marketplaces, I believe.
So sorry, my feeling on this is that like marketplaces are now an anachronism. I really do. I don't think that they're the best place to shop for consumers. And frankly, and I'm willing to be argued with on this, I don't think it's the best place for individual proprietors to run their stores. Yeah. And I'll never forget this conversation that I had with the chief revenue officer of one of the 3 big companies that you were talking about on stage. So we were sitting in front of 400 people, right, at an event. And I was moderating this, and I said to this gentleman, Harvard educated, I believe, or Wharton educated, so well educated. And I said to him, how do you handle the problem of product discovery? You have 2 million products on your thing. Like, how do you handle this problem of product discovery? And he said, product discovery, you can find whatever you want on my site. And I was like, but it was weird because the whole audience went quiet. They weren't still on their phones. They were like, no, you don't understand the question. The question is, if there are 2 million things, how do I find the thing I'm trying to find?
Yeah, that's one of the issues. Another one is why, for example, price comparison is difficult here, is that there's sort of no unique SKU for one item. So basically sellers are able to create additional items just by giving something for free. Let's say an iPhone, right? It's a simple example. You give for free another case that you just throw in, and it's suddenly a new SKU. Right. And that actually that's one big problem, one big blocker almost for product discovery, and also for the algorithm to show the correct product
when you search,
the person is searching for.
And
based on the interest as well.
Definitely. And I will add another problem. Like if you want to sell something, how do you get your product discovered in such a huge number of product available, right? So that's why, like nowadays, many people do actually Amazon ads to let you they sponsor the product inside of Amazon,
right?
So because they have a huge product discovery issue where when you want to try to sell something, you need to find just the customers, right? And you need your customers to find the product.
I was actually reading that when Amazon started that it has a way higher click rate and conversion rate as well, which is interesting. So
what does the ads do?
The ads.
For sure. Yeah.
Even though it says ad. So a lot of people thought it will not work. But I think early results showed it's actually performing way better than sort of organic listing.
Why did they think that it was not going to work so well? Because were they making the same comparison to Google, saying people don't want to click on ads on Google? Yeah. But it's a completely different experience.
It is. And I guess Amazon has built a certain level of trust that if you show your consumers an ad, and you call it ad even,
right,
they will not have a negative sort of thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, like I think Amazon does the same thing as what Google is doing. So I don't know exactly for Amazon ads, but what Google does is that if your ads doesn't perform well, then you're gonna pay more, or they're gonna show you less, basically. So like the quality of the ad and the quality of what happened after that also is important to get leads and clicks. You cannot just pay and like showcase a crappy app and a crappy website behind. It's not going to work. Like somebody who pay less than you but have a better ad and a better offer will get more clicks.
Yeah, but let's go back to Google for a second. I was trying to remember this piece of software that I was using. It turns out it was Basecamp, right? So I'm doing a project with somebody else who were using Basecamp.
CRM solution.
Yes. Yeah. And I just couldn't remember the name of it. And I'd cleared all the cache on my laptop because I was having another issue. I'm like, what is the name of that software? I'm like, oh, I think it's Basecamp, right? So I type in Basecamp into the search bar in Google, and I get the top 3 are not Basecamp.
Sure.
Because they buy those words.
Yeah.
And Amazon cannot have this not in a physical store, but I mean in an e-commerce shop. Because imagine walking into Walmart and saying, where are the Stanley tools? And then they take you to the other tools. You're like, that's not what I asked
Could happen
for.
though.
It might, but not purposely. Like it's not part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not paying for it. Go ahead.
They can do that as bundles, for example. Like they can, once you have the product page, you are looking for a computer because they're not gonna show you something else, right? It's like, of course, Google is doing that, but Amazon should not do that. But once you click on the computer on the product page, so either at this moment or after you click on add to cart, then they can there show you some additional products like keyboard and mouse and case and stuff like that. And this can be sponsored also, right? So this is a great way for them to increase like the order.
There's an offline equivalency to this too. I think I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. In the old days in New York, there was this store downtown called Barney's.
Yeah.
And there was really one of them. Actually, there were 2 of them, but there was just the main store downtown. And you'd go there to buy suits. It was the best place in New York. Well, it was like the mid to high tier place in New York to get suits. There were other bespoke places, but very different. But when you went into Barney's, you're like, I'll take this blue suit. They were like, great. You should look at it with a shirt though, and maybe a tie just to get a sense of what it looks like. And if you're buying a $1,000 suit, they would literally bring out like a $500 shirt and a $400 tie.
Good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah, they would do that though.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this looks great. And they go, okay, would you like to take the whole thing? You're like, sure, because this shirt looks great. And then you get there and they check it out and you're like, huh?
Yeah.
It's $900 for those 2 things kind of thing.
But it's a specific category, right? Where I think that worldwide in fashion, those sort of gentlemen shopping
shops.
malls or whatever it is, or even brands themselves, they just have the benefit of offering additional service with trained staff. Compared to online, it's very hard still to actually achieve that.
Absolutely.
Right? You can do some consultation on, I don't know, which phone plan do I want or whatever, but it's labor intense. Bots are not fully there yet. It's getting better, but just for sort of standardized requests.
But something that is sure is that it's way easier to do that on your own website than on a marketplace. Yeah. Like it's almost impossible to get like a real good pre-sales customer experience on a marketplace. So like there is almost no tools. Sometimes they add like chatbots, but like most of the time the guy are not like there most of the time because this is not the purpose of why they do that. And also they are on Shopee, they are on Lazada, they are like on so many places. Like the guy that just doesn't do that super properly, so you don't have answer to you like 3-4 hours later, which is way too late. But the people who do like live chats on an app, for example, or on a website selling clothes, most of the time they have a full team doing that, and so they are able to answer like in 2 minutes or 30 seconds, and like they can really help the customers. But you can only do that if you have your own website. So,
but maybe that's the reason why Shogun or whatever it's called, the pronunciation, Japanese name, raised so much money, because then suddenly the brands and the sellers sort of own the experience, the customer experience, and can basically add features that they think is relevant to that particular type of category or product they're selling.
Yeah, and
that
look,
could be one reason.
I completely agree with this concept that sellers, of course, but consumers as well, are getting tired of shopping in marketplaces.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing that happened offline, right? In other words, you used to have these shopping streets, and I'm talking about, 50, 60, 70 years ago, and they'd have, a haberdasher, they'd have a bakery, they'd have all these little shops, and you have to walk around to buy all of them. But the people in those shops were experts in those things, and they knew what they were selling you, and you could trust them.
Yeah.
And then they said inside these big cities, real estate got too expensive, or for whatever reason, they just put them all into a department store. And then you'd go to the first floor for this, the second floor for that, the third floor. And at some point, it just got too many products. Stupid salespeople didn't understand the product, right? And then the smart brands were like, I'm not going in there anymore. I'm taking my thing back onto the street.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing is happening. I think the same evolution is happening online as well. And I think that what happened to Shogun is an example of why why their software is going to be so important. It still may be overvalued. But again, we don't know, right? But that's what I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I completely believe into that. And actually, I think another good example is the valuation that Shopify has compared to the revenue. Like we have almost 100x ratio, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like one of the first time we met, Michael, I asked you this question, like, how come Shopify is like so much, like has such a big valuation? It's because, like people, I have the same opinion as you. Like I feel like people just want to move out of marketplaces. They want to own the channels, the data. They want to own their marketing, their branding. Yeah. And when you have your own website, you can do basically whatever you want in terms of features, in terms of innovation. You get all the data from your customers. So I believe this Shogun example is definitely a good example of going into that direction.
Yeah, and I think in Southeast Asia, it took a while for big brands to jump onto marketplaces. And I guess there's enough hype now, especially with COVID, so that basically all sort of brands are willing to join. It's generating sales in the end. But you're right. I think it's a unified customer experience. And so you basically have a product like Apple next to sneakers and so on and so forth, and bathing products. So, and it's always the same shopping experience. But it's not matching with the product category or the product type.
Yeah, and you even see big retailers in Bangkok, which is a unique experience in and of itself, saying, like look at Central Embassy. I think I'd much rather go to Central Embassy or even go to M Quartier than shop for, like I bought these headphones at the Sony store in M Quartier and those.
Okay.
And I those were the second ones. I could have bought them online, but I don't want to do that. When I go to Lazada or Shopee or one of the other online stores, it's too noisy for me.
I was about to say, I think I know why you prefer Central Embassy. Yeah, because it's more empty in the end. Yeah, it's more quiet as well.
But it's a better experience.
Yeah, less marketing promotion as well.
But I mean, why do these marketplaces have such bad shopping experiences, do you think?
Well, the question is, what is the definition of bad shopping experience, right? So in the end, I mean, with DrTech as well, I think it's one thing you probably look at is to have as few clicks as possible to have a purchase. And so, while I wouldn't agree that it's a terrible shopping experience. It's just hard to sort of fit with all the different kinds of products. And I think just one addition to the previous comment on the headphones, I think Apple did an amazing job, probably the best worldwide, and companies like Sony and so on are sort of taking some learnings from that on having this almost perfect shopping experience online, but
on their store,
but as well offline.
Right.
Obviously, Apple is very special with the kind of store concepts they have. But then other brands, Samsung, Sony, and so on, or also fashion brands, take some learnings from that and try to create that shopping experience.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, when I lived in Japan, I used to go to the Ralph Lauren store on, I believe, 72nd and Madison, because they didn't sell the towels that I wanted.
Yeah.
I know this is a very first world problem, but they didn't sell the towels that I wanted anywhere except in that store. This is a while ago, but still, you couldn't buy them online anywhere. You couldn't buy them online in Japan.
Yeah.
So you had to wait to go to the physical store. But they learned, as Apple did, if you can control the environment inside the store, online or offline, that you're just going to have a much better shopping experience. Yeah. And Apple did something actually really interesting. I don't remember exactly when they did this, but their website went from sort of a general information thing with a store on it to just a store. Right? It's hard for people to remember that, but when they did that, it changed the whole tenor of the thing. And again, if we get back to this Shogun thing now, the more that I think about it, the more important this is. Correct. Because if it allows you to like control that experience and not just the look and feel, and then if it lets you stick out, right? So you're not hidden inside the noise, right? We talk a lot about engineers say they spend all their time trying to find signals, right? And eliminate noise.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean when I talk about noise.
Yeah.
I want the signals. When I go to the Apple website, I know exactly what I'm getting.
Right.
When I go to Lazada, I'm just like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant when I said I'd rather go to M-Quartier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. But then Lazada, we have to look at it from a different perspective as well. You have a mix of big brands and you have a high percentage of private sellers.
Yeah.
Whether it's reselling certain brands or it's creating their own brands. It's a big thing in the Western world to create their own brands. It's still more on the social commerce side. So
talk to me about social commerce. Like, how would you define that?
How would you define it? So it's basically, there's very often a person behind it, a face behind it, running a company, but doesn't have to be. And I think, again, very special here in Southeast Asia is that they originate out of social media platforms. Facebook, TikTok is growing quite quickly.
Yeah.
Instagram, even Line. Yeah. And they don't really see fit actually with marketplaces most of the times. But I believe it's a little bit different in the context of Amazon, where they actually own a huge amount of private brands to resell or sell on the platform.
You're talking about Amazon themselves own the brand?
No, private brands. So you create a brand and then you create your own store on Amazon, and you actually have to work to sort of get the communication out and create that brand. Yeah. And there's companies, I believe the previous CEO of Lazada has started a company doing that. They either buy those micro brands, I just call it micro brands, no, they're not always micro.
It's fine.
So yeah, it's a big thing. And here it's less on the marketplaces, it's more still on social media. Yeah. But there might be a shift in the future.
And actually, if I can just add something before we go to this topic, which is very interesting, right? I see, Michael, you really want to talk about that. And yeah, just before we go on top of that, that's very interesting what you said, because like you're right, in Southeast Asia, actually, I was shocked the first time I came in Thailand when I saw this girl selling clothes on Facebook Live. I was like so shocked to see that. I had never seen that before, like in Europe.
Why have you been shocked?
In Dubai, because like. Because first of all, I never saw that like in Europe or in the US or in Dubai where I was living before. But this girl just like do Facebook Live, try the clothes, and also like all the checkout process. It was like so lean, let's say.
Yeah, it is.
They just say like
extremely lean.
Message me. I send you my bank account. You send me the money, and I send it to you. So like it's kind of their own personal experience already. Like as you said, they don't go on Shopee, they don't go on Lazada, they control the whole stuff, right? They do their own experience through the Facebook Live. They talk themselves. So you are right. That's their own face. That's their own.
It's not a must, but it often happens.
Yeah. It definitely super often happen. And after that, like they manage the checkout process the way they can. Let's say, like because. I remember I was wondering like, but why they don't make a website? Like if you send all your customer, a private message to send them your bank account number plus asking them the address. I was like, just make a very simple website. You just send to everybody. You accept the payment. You ask for the address. It's easy, right?
Yes, it's quite interesting. I agree. I think it's kind of TV shopping 2.0.
Yeah,
I think all the countries worldwide are used to
home shopping,
to TV
network,
shopping,
QVC.
home shopping. Right? There's quite a few still in Thailand as well.
Yep.
And so I think this kind of behavior with, I think consumers just prefer chatting with the person selling something to them. And that's why also Lazada and Shopee integrated the seller chat function, right? Because they have seen Southeast Asian consumers, Thai consumers in this case, really, really prefer doing that. And I believe sometimes it comes a bit from the shopping experience of a market, talat in Thai, right? That you have this P2P sort of conversation, consultancy as well.
Yes,
so
while
we came back to that.
Yeah, while you're buying stuff, the person's taking them, talking to you directly, how's your mom going and stuff like that, puts it in the bag, weighs it or whatever, and then you exchange money while you're still chatting.
That's one piece of the development here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a really good point.
Definitely.
I want to talk about regular websites in a second, but I want to get to Una Brands in a moment. But I had an experience. So like when I bought this thing, right? I bought it off a website called Millionhead. I have no affiliation with them at all.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting experience to me, right? I didn't pay by credit card. And they said, just transfer to our bank account, which they put on the website. And when I was sending it to them, someone started chatting me online. And they told me what the price was and all this stuff. So the whole thing happened on their website plus online, the chat app. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I paid it, and they said, "Can you take a screenshot and upload it?"
Yeah, it's still
I'm
the
like,
case.
"This is amazing."
Yeah, but I guess customers are used to it, so they don't even see it anymore as a blocker to shop.
It wasn't a blocker for
They're
me at
used to
all.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was like, okay, I picked up my phone, I made the transfer, I saw it, I took the screenshot, I sent it to them, I got my thing.
Proof of transfer transaction.
Yeah, it worked.
And that's not a cheap thing. That's the thing. Like they are doing that with something that is like a couple of tens of thousand baht, right?
This is 25,000 baht. Yeah.
So like so they trust the screenshot. That's my point. Like we can fake it so easily, but the trust level here is so high that they trust the screenshot, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think that kind of stuff can work in France, to be honest. Like we need a third party to say, okay, you get the transaction, you get the money on your bank account. Now you can ship the product.
But I did the same thing yesterday. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Yesterday I had a cheeseburger for lunch. Okay. And I was sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't want to go downstairs again and have the same pizza or whatever I normally have. And I wanted some high quality food, and I was actually thinking of going to El Mercado.
Okay.
Sitting outside, having some mussels, right? I don't think they're serving wine now, so it eliminates a little bit of the fun. But still, sitting outside there is wonderful, right?
Yeah.
But I knew I didn't have time to go. So I'm like, I wonder if they deliver here, because it's far away. They do. And I had an amazing burger. But the process, again, was very similar to buying this.
Yeah.
I didn't have my credit cards with me, but I preferred doing it off the phone anyway. So I paid with my phone, and they said, please send us. I uploaded the slip to them.
Yeah.
I got an email saying we received it.
Yeah.
And then I got my burger.
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I didn't feel like it was inefficient or slow or anything. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think food delivery and grocery deliveries is again a little bit different. It's a different kind of transaction, right? And it's more frequent, and often people have sort of a relationship to certain dining places, like you with El Mercado in this case.
Yep.
And there's definitely a gap in the market to sort of solve the problem. Again, marketplace, right? I mean, in the end, Foodpanda and Grab is a marketplace, and they take a certain amount of commission from the restaurants. Yep. It's debatable whether it's too high or too low. I mean, separate topic. But I think a lot of restaurants try to figure out to sort of build their own communication channels to customers, especially during COVID. We don't know how long those lockdowns and so on, restrictions still last. And of course, if they deliver themselves, if they have the right volume as well, it's more profitable for them, and they can basically guarantee the customer experience better. Like your burger. I think burger is a good example because burger is actually it's hard to deliver properly, because then it's cooking in itself through the steam in the box.
I was amazed. It actually, I don't want to interrupt your thought, but it came in this beautiful wrapped paper.
Correct. Yeah.
And the experience was great. I pulled it out and I'm like, they nailed this delivery.
Yeah, they have to test as well. I mean, how does the burger taste after 15 minutes in a certain packaging? Yeah. That's a new thing, because before it just served it on a plate and that's,
Yeah. So I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No.
So anyway, I was just saying that to me is frictionless enough for what I'm considering e-commerce and food delivery, right? Yeah.
Did you order on Grab, or did you order like on
No.
their website?
I won't go to Grab anymore for food.
You call El Mercado and you ask them like, can I?
I didn't call them. I just was doing the whole thing online. I went to their website and did the whole thing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find the Grab food shopping experience terrible.
Yeah.
I'm an outlier here, but I find the whole Grab experience terrible.
And actually, if you want just to add something to that, how many restaurants on Grab are English? Like there is so much in Thai. So like just all the menu and the food, it's all in Thai. Like how many times I was like, I want to order, but just I cannot. Like I think there's a lot of foreigners in Thailand. Yeah. Like it's worth it just translating it that
I agree with that one.
Into English.
That's why I think most foreigners use Foodpanda, because it's always in English.
Yeah, that might be a reason. Actually, like nowadays there is algorithm. There's like everything to just do it automatically. You don't need to have a team. You need to do it manually. Even if the guy doesn't know how to upload his menu into English, it's fine. You can do that. Yeah. It's been 2 years I'm in Thailand. They still did not do that. But
we're sort of coming back to a topic with the Facebook Live before, right? So while those P2P sort of transactions are amazing and it leads to high conversion rates, you pretty quickly reach a limit of scalability there. And it's the same with El Mercado in your case, so it's a similar kind of transaction.
Yes.
Of course, with marketplaces like Grab and Foodpanda, the whole process of getting information what to prepare and to which driver to give it, what's the order number and so on, it's more streamlined. So you can scale faster. But if you chat with your customers, you sort of need to figure out your own process on how to scale food delivery without working with a marketplace.
So it's so interesting. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. It's just making me think really hard. We started this like joking around a little bit about Shogun, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking the thing that El Mercado did so well that Grab doesn't do and actually can't do yet is they purpose-built that journey, which is a trite word, but it's actually true in this case, just for them.
Yes.
So if even a restaurant right next door to them used the same thing, it may not work as well, right? Because maybe the food's different, maybe it's cooked differently, maybe just the personality of the place is different. But I felt like the whole time that I was doing that thing, that I was at El Mercado, that whatever their ethos is, that they nailed it in this experience as well.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just on, because I love this Pala pizza place too in Asoka, right? Delicious.
Yeah, I like it too.
They won't deliver here.
Okay. And they've been on Grab actually, but they're not on there anymore, I think.
They won't deliver here. They're not on Grab anymore either. Yeah. But the point is that when I order, because I moved here, but when I used to order it, I didn't feel like I was ordering from Pala Pizza. I felt like I was ordering somebody that built just like a stock, a bog standard thing.
And wrapped in the paper.
Wrapped in whatever, and then it just showed up.
Yeah.
Because the whole experience was bad.
Yeah. But then, I mean, there's restaurants where I think El Mercado is something, and I guess listeners that are not from Bangkok might not know, but they build a concept of experience around eating, right?
Absolutely.
So you kind of feel like you're in France or in Spain or something, right? But there's other places, like most street food places, where it's not so much about the experience, but the food itself.
Right.
And then I think getting it delivered is maybe a different topic.
Yeah. And I think Pala's that way.
Yeah.
In the store, like one of my buddies introduced me to it, and I'd been by it a bunch of times, right? It's underneath the BTS.
Yeah.
And he said to me, hey, if we're not Sok, why don't we just go over to Pala Pizza, the best pizza in Bangkok? And I'm like, I'm not going in there, like a food snob.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, why? The food's amazing. I'm like, it looks like a cafeteria. I'm not going in there. And then we went in there once, and I'm like, I can't get enough of this pizza. Right? But what I want to talk about is how you move that experience online. And I want to set a scene for a second. Whether it's in Thailand or in Tokyo, where I used to live, I ended up going to basically a bunch of the restaurants around my home. I think everybody does this. Excuse me. And what does that mean? It means that when you walk in, they know you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Even if they don't know you, they can pretend, Michael, please sit in your regular seat.
Yeah.
How do you replicate that?
Good question, yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? So I think Shogun's, the reason why I'm thinking about it is, again, because Shogun, I think, is trying to do that. It's trying to say your store is different than your store. It should be completely different. The same way the restaurants are completely different. Right? Like when I go to El Mercado, it's a very different experience than when I go to Pala Pizza.
Yeah.
But I love them both.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you replicate that online?
It's a tough one.
Right?
So I guess some restaurants try to put at least some kind of personal touch for how you deliver the food. So certain packaging, you have maybe a handwritten note. But I think it's just, you cannot really replicate that experience, in my opinion.
Especially on marketplaces for like any kind of shop, not only food delivery, but it's very hard to it's actually impossible because everything is standardized. Like you all have the same shopping experience. And when you were talking about that, I just have an idea also like that. For example, let's take a restaurant. Like for example, El Mercado. Like you order to them because you know them, right? So you're not a new customer. They don't have a discovery problem. It's a repeated purchase, right?
Yeah.
And like we know that it's easier to sell to your existing customers than to acquire new customers, right?
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
But if you are only on marketplaces, it's impossible to build a relationship with your existing customer and sell to them. Why? Because you
Absolutely.
don't have the data.
Yeah.
They
Zero.
just don't give it to you. Like
Right.
if you sell on Amazon, for example, they don't give you the information. So you cannot build this funnel that can help you to get some loyalty from your customers, and then just sell directly to them and like bypass the marketplace, basically, right? So maybe this is where the brands and the shop should start to work at, like getting this loyalty program in place, starting to sell to their existing customers, so they don't need this discovery problem so much that marketplace bring them. Because definitely, like, one of the big advantages to go on Amazon or Grab or all of that is all the traffic that they send you, like almost instantly, if people can find you, of
If
course.
they can find you, though.
Yeah, but like if they can find you, they send you a lot of customers for free. That's perfect. But once you get this customer, like let's go one step further and let's say, okay, now we're gonna try to keep selling to them, and we're gonna try to keep them, and that's impossible to do that on marketplaces. So this is where like a standalone website comes in place, and then you can like bypass the marketplaces, improve your margin, sell more, develop your business.
Absolutely.
And it can be very, very interesting.
So I guess it comes back a bit to a comment earlier on Amazon again and Shogun, that in Western countries, own sort of storefronts online work better or more common as well than it is here, right? So I think we can sort of replicate that issue to food delivery. And I was just to say, so I agree with you. And I've actually spoken to a few entrepreneurs that try to solve that problem. So
In the food space.
yeah,
Go ahead.
but it's I mean, it's not just creating the funnel, right? So you're basically expecting from someone that used to basically cook noodle soup or a rice dish to suddenly take care of logistics, of online marketing, of taking care of transactions, thinking about customer experience as a delivery. It's not that easy. I think they need help. And then, again, so I mean, Grab has really an exceptional service, I think, for the amount of orders they have in terms of delivery time, right? So now they're getting a bit crowded. I think today was actually a bit overloaded, but it's normal. You have peak times. But the same problem would be there if you do it for your own restaurant, whether it's a chain or it's just one shop. There's a lot of problems to solve.
Yeah, and there are people. I think I know what your idea is, right?
Tell me, you can see what I have the idea.
Doctor Restaurant.
Definitely. Doctor Restaurant or Doctor Podcast or DrTech.
Yeah.
Like these companies for any kind of overstuff and food that can handle all the logistical part for you, and they just let you build your store, and then they handle all the warehouse and all the delivery for you. And the first example of something that works like this at scale is all the people doing dropshipping, like companies like CJ Dropshipping, for example.
Yeah.
They sell product from China all around the world at scale, just handling the warehouse and the delivery. But everybody who sells this product have their own store, their own brand, their own marketing channel, they have their own customers, and they sell CJ Dropshipping product. Why? Because CJ stock them everywhere in the world and deliver in a few days to the end customers. So that works at scale. So maybe this can be like something that we can build, guys, that do that, but for food delivery. And so that we help all the little shop who cannot handle the delivery themselves.
But you're able to plug into last mile delivery companies. So you can plug into Lalamove or Scooter. There's a couple of them.
You can
plug into them. Yeah, you can solve that part of the puzzle through connecting to them.
You can, but it's really confusing, right? Because excuse me. When I order from Hummus Boutique in Tonglor, it's really good. You know, they send a map, right, that says your guy's here, he's coming here. It says Lalamove has taken over the logistics for this. But sometimes the guy who shows up doesn't wear the Lalamove outfit, right? Because they partner with Lineman.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, Lineman partners with Lalamove, yeah.
Excuse me.
Lalamove does their logistics.
I understand that, right? So it's just very confusing. And then when the guy shows up, it's almost impossible to find him because you're looking for the wrong person. I think the big question I have, right, between these big marketplaces and the bespoke store is, how do you build that layer so it has the efficiency and the efficacy of a marketplace, but the personality and the user experience of an individual proprietor?
Yeah, there was just one more touch point, I think, is I mean, Foodpanda and Grab, also Shopee and Lazada on the other side, are still heavily promotion driven, right? And a lot of consumers here are sort of a bit spoiled by having those promotions, free delivery, getting 10, 20, 30% off constantly. But it helps with retention, right? So, but I believe it's a bit of a slow process, but I think if you have a great experience from your restaurant to deliver to you outside of the marketplace, I think people will accept that there's no promotion code or discount or free delivery even for that kind of for the delivery if the experience is matching with the concept of the restaurant.
Right. In other words, I never go to El Mercado with a coupon. Right. I don't need a promo code for that.
Yeah.
And again, not to promote them, but just because it was such a great experience from front to back.
Yeah. Good to hear.
Yeah. And I was surprised, to be fair. So maybe part of the good feeling was the surprise that there were no hitches at all. But when I do some stuff on other food delivery things, I know there's a promo code there, and I'm always using it. And I don't care if it's 50 baht off or 25 baht off.
As well. Yeah, it's
right?
there.
It's there. So,
but still, it's making it hard for sort of a solution to go away from the marketplace and do a direct-to-consumer concept.
Why they could not do their own promotion?
They can, of course they can.
If they have the email address, the phone number, if even they have an app, and like they can, and then they get the customer to download the El Mercado app, they can send promotion directly to the customer. They don't need to go through Grab or to any kind of marketplace, or they don't need to also be lost among all the promotion on all the stores, right? So it can be also a great way to differentiate themselves. For example, you go on Grab, you want to eat a burger. There's like 10 shops who are doing 10% off promotion. So in the end, like you have a choice. Like you don't go to this shop or this one, right? And it's all in Thai, so perfect.
You are in Thailand.
Yeah,
you are in Thailand, right? I mean,
quick reminder.
You know this. When people go into like the countryside in France and complain that like the menu isn't in English.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the locals' fault, kind of thing.
Fair point.
Anyway.
Yeah. I know. I'm just feeling enjoyed. And actually, France is a very good example because nothing is in English in France. It's all in French everywhere.
But that's why I keep saying, I mean, even though I joined Lazada in 2012 as the 5th employee back then.
Right.
And so now, almost 10 years later, I still think e-commerce is super, super early here in the region.
I mean, that's the whole point of the show.
There's still so many things that can be done, that have to be done. I'm very sure that in a couple of years, the e-commerce scene will look quite differently.
What do you think it looks like? Seriously, just based on what you were there when you built it, what you see now, what you've been involved in.
Yeah.
Right, I have my own sort of pie-in-the-sky ideas about the way I'd like it to look, but I don't do it. So I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of aspects. So Lazada, for example, actually didn't start off as a marketplace in the region. They started off by buying products and reselling them. So all the products have been stored in the warehouse.
But literally buying products.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
And then selling them.
Yeah, there was a huge supply chain team to be able to almost cross-stock sometimes the items. Yeah. And it's also capital intense to do that compared to marketplace.
Sure.
So I think there's still, the big guys will find out things that they didn't look at yet. So there will be improvements, there will be innovation coming. But I think one topic is for sure that they have a lot of cash still to burn, whether it's on the food delivery side or grocery side or on traditional e-commerce. Entrepreneurs need to come up with solutions that are serving customers better without looking at those heavy VC investments. Right? Not saying it's a bad thing always to have VC investments. Sometimes it's good.
Can you elaborate? I love this topic. Can you just elaborate a little bit more when you say money to burn, and they should look at solutions so they don't have to raise? Can you just like start connecting these dots for me so I can?
Yeah. So I think as the example with the food delivery, right? If you want to build your own experience, yes, you can offer promotions, but of course the big guys have certain benefits because they can burn cash to have perfect delivery times, to have promotions, those kind of things.
Got it. Okay.
Which the small guys don't have. And the same problem would be in between with entrepreneurs that recognize those problems that are, or gaps that are in the market, to come up with solutions that are able to compete without having the same amount of deep pocket, or the same deep pockets, same amount of cash to grow.
What do you think about this, particularly from the food perspective? Let's say you now have 10 years worth of data.
Yeah.
Right? Neighborhoods don't change that fast. Some of them do. I mean, obviously in Thailand, things are growing and moving. But in some places, like the neighborhood doesn't really change that much, right? If you know where people are, what they're ordering, why not just build these sort of very small, what's the word I'm looking for? Strategically placed kitchens. No seating.
Cloud kitchens.
Yeah. Right? Like, why isn't that everywhere now?
It's coming, I think. Yeah, a lot of companies trying to.
But that's
solve
also
this
CapEx. That's also
problem.
CapEx
It is.
intensive, right? Because you need the physical location.
I think it is, and it is not. I think it's definitely. I mean, a lot of restaurants are still operating. A lot of restaurants now operate actually a cloud kitchen out of a storefront that is rented to actually have seating. Right. So there's different CapEx there. And there's definitely a valid concept of cloud kitchens where you share the kitchen, where you have your Mercado brand as an example, but not cooked at the store. Because they also need to serve customers when they're sitting. At the moment, it's not, but let's say there is. To outsource it there, so it's less crowded during peak times to serve sit-in customers. Because actually, you want to serve them first and then delivery.
Right, because this is a problem. Like if you're sitting there, and you see like bags just going out.
That's why a lot of restaurants don't want to do delivery during times where they can open. Right. Because it's disturbing the customer experience. As you said, drivers in green and pink and whatever color, orange.
Just sitting there,
sitting there, motorbikes in front. So yeah, cloud kitchens make a lot of sense. Yeah. And Grab is trying it with their own solution. They also pull in brands that are existing. So it's not just their own sort of concepts.
Right.
It's mixed.
Yeah.
So
but there's still a lot to do.
You mean they are doing it right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You just look for Grab Kitchen. I think you can find it.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. That definitely makes sense. As you said, that if you have like all the data, you know exactly like who order what where. Like let's just like do a cloud kitchen here, and then like we can sell them like much faster.
And I believe you talked about the 10 burger brands when you look for burger. I believe many of them actually that originated within the COVID period. I think a lot of them are in cloud kitchens.
Yeah,
they don't have sit-in. Nope. It's just it's a nice branding, and they cook the food in probably a shared kitchen or in a kind of remote location where cost structure is way lower.
They did that in Dubai like 3 years ago, because Dubai is a huge city in super
very spread out,
super big, very spread out. So
very spread out.
When you want to go to a restaurant in Dubai, like almost any restaurant you pick, you have to drive 30 minutes, at least. It's very far. So like there is a lot of restaurants who open without no seats. So like without any seats, sorry. So like they just deliver and has the cost of Dubai of like to rent the place is very high. So like it was a great way to start a restaurant or to expand a restaurant like for way cheaper than the normal price with less staff and all of that.
Correct. I mean, part of the cloud kitchen concept is to utilize distressed sort of property where it's driving down your cost structure. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, that's the good stuff.
So there was a burger shop at I wish I could remember the name of this little plaza, but it was right on Soy 50. And we used to go sit there and have some pizza and some wine and stuff, sit outside. But there was a burger shop there, small. You couldn't sit inside of it, but there was some seating outside. And I was just really curious one night because there were a bunch of line guys and Lala Move guys sitting outside, and I just walked over and I said, "Which one of you guys is the owner?" And they're like, "Oh no, what's wrong?" I'm like, "No, I'm just interested." And we went through this whole thing. It said something like 60 to 70% of their orders are online.
Yeah.
Meaning our e-commerce style orders, delivery.
Yeah.
It just blew me away. Yeah. Burgers, yeah?
Yeah, it's a typical item to
get
delivered, right?
But you were right when you said it before. Like, I don't order burgers that often because
it cooks in itself.
I just don't know what's going to show up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. Same with pizza and so on.
Yeah.
I think there's let's not talk too much about specific brands, but there's a company in Bangkok that I always use as a good example to actually have that delivery experience. I think we can say the name is called Gallery Pizza.
Yeah.
So there are, I think, 2 locations now, and I think they actually started also with chat ordering only. Now they have a website, but I don't know the split, obviously. But I believe most people still order through Facebook Messenger and Instagram and Line. But they have top-notch customer service, and they have their own delivery fleet. It's optimized for pizza because that's the only thing. Well, and salad, I think, but most people order the pizza.
Yeah,
and it always arrives at the exact minute you want it, and in perfect condition. They have probably almost close to 0% bad customer experience because of the pizza was flipped or it arrives cold or the driver is impolite, has no change.
Right.
They are perfectly prepared.
So this is why I go back to this idea of not personalizing the experience, but of making it perfect for your brand.
Yeah.
Right. You really want to own that conversation. And this is where we get back to the whole concept of I just hate these marketplaces because because again, I think it's really difficult to differentiate when you're there.
Yeah.
Is that fair? And I know we've just come full circle, but I love this conversation about marketplaces because there are some people that swear by them.
Yeah.
Right. But I think they're
even though
go
you
away.
said it's a bad experience, and yes, it is sometimes, but it's still easy to shop, more or less. Besides the discovery process, maybe if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think about the offline equivalency in my head, right? The idea is, I know I have to get up to the 7th floor to get the towels. I know there are going to be a bunch of yahoos in my way, and I don't want to get sprayed with the cologne. I'm not interested in that. But you know what I mean, right? When you walk into Macy's or whatever it is these days, just leave me alone. I'm going upstairs. I know what I want, kind of thing. And I feel like these online marketplaces are kind of like that. You got to sort of trundle through stuff, but you know what you want. You go get it. You've ordered it before, let's say, and then you leave and you're like, oh, okay, I got what I needed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and there's also very little consultancy. You have a product detail page, and that's pretty much
That's
it.
it,
Right? And
yeah.
I think music instruments and whatever equipment is a good example. I think there's worldwide there are very good companies that resell this kind of category, and they really have amazing consultancy service on top. Not just with speaking with another person or consultant, a seller, but just how the whole shop is built, comparisons and all the details, technical details.
Such a great point.
Those music nerds, I would almost say, lovers.
Such a great point, yeah.
Want. And they're doing well.
Yeah, so I was going to get a, I can't remember what it's called now, like to amplify the sound, right? Because if you know anything about XLR cables and all this other stuff, there's noise on the line.
Yeah.
So you want to get the gain higher without less noise. You want pure gain, right? And they sell these things called FET heads or cloud something. I can't remember, cloud filters. I can't remember the names anymore. And I was on the phone or on chatting with the store that has this. And you're right, that consultancy function is really important.
Yeah.
I said, do you have this thing, the FET head? He's like, nope, but we have this other one, which is exactly the same and $35 cheaper, and I can get it to you this afternoon. It was just such, but he wasn't doing what they were doing at Barney's, where he was trying to sell me a tie that was too expensive.
Right.
He was actually trying to help.
Yeah.
And I think this is that same thing we were talking about with El Mercado is they love their food.
Yeah.
They love that experience. And this guy is probably a sound geek.
Yeah.
Just like I am.
Yeah.
He loves it. He's like, oh, no, don't do that. Get this. And I hadn't thought about it in the terms of consultancy, which just shows how much more experienced you are than I am. But it's a great word.
Yeah.
And a super way to think about it, no?
And definitely, actually, it made me think about Etsy. Remember when we did the episode like a few weeks ago when Etsy bought this over marketplace? I don't remember the name.
Neither do I. The English one, yeah?
Yeah.
UK-based one, yeah. I can't remember the name of it either. But.
And like a few years ago, they bought one that does exactly what you say for music instruments. So basically, it's a marketplace where you can buy like a lot of music instrument stuff, but the people who handle the customer support there provide this consultancy to help you find the product that you need and to help you, just like make up your mind, right? Because most of the time you know roughly what you want, but you're not really ready to shop. So this is where having a consultant can definitely help. And and this company is still here, and as you say, they are still doing good. And this,
But that's why I said I think that social commerce actually has higher growth rates than probably marketplace. I might be wrong, but I think because of this element of we call it consultancy, is
Yeah, I completely agree. I love the whole idea of social commerce.
Yeah.
Because it literally harkens back to the way commerce started in the first place.
Yeah, correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I've got a cow. You've got some fabric. You want some milk, and I need to get dressed, kind of thing.
Yeah, but there's also a difference between, okay, you want to buy a particular product and you have in mind roughly what you want, and you need some just a little bit more of consultancy to make your choice. But then I think a lot of shopping that happens on marketplaces, impulse shopping. And it's based on so in Southeast Asia we have the 7/7 and 8/8 and so on.
11,
It started
11,
with
whatever,
one per year, and now it's every month.
It is though, isn't it?
But those are not. I mean, yes, you might have a product in mind, and you might get it cheaper on that day. But I think there's a slightly different type of shopping here. So impulse shopping versus you know what you want. You just need a bit of more consultancy, whether it's a tie or it's a music
Board,
device.
yeah, whatever.
Board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we talk about innovation a lot in this room, and you said you think that it's going to look really different in a few years in the e-commerce space, whether it's in food delivery, groceries, any of these things, right? Do you see what that future looks like?
Well, it has to, because also at some point the marketplaces need to be closer to break even, right? So that's already changing the game. So they keep spending, and I think it will last for a few more years. But you can only do that to a certain extent.
Right. But do you think they're in a situation like Amazon was in 10 or 15 years ago, where everyone was just calling it like Amazon.bomb, right? Or Amazon.org, and they're never going to make any money. And Jeff Bezos just kept saying, but you do remember that, right? And, and Jeff Bezos just
got a lot of bashing,
just like slow down over there, because we're fine. Like we could turn on the profits tomorrow, but we want to keep growing. Is it the same thing? Is it close to
he
that
also
here?
did it a bit different, right? So if I understand the history correctly, he reinvested a lot of the profits into improving the customer experience.
Absolutely.
It's to a certain extent for sure happening here as well, but probably with a little bit of a less focus. Also the concept of marketplace is different on Amazon than it is on existing marketplaces here in the region, with fulfilled by Amazon, and they really want to control the last steps of the customer experience.
Right.
And own it. Here it's different. The seller sits somewhere in Thailand in this example, or even in another country, cross-border. Give it to the delivery company, logistics company, and there's no control over delivery times, condition of the product, the packaging, zero.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, I remember like seeing, I think it's last year, Amazon started to control who can sell what on the marketplace. So basically, like, they enforced a new like regulation that they put in the marketplace, where they said, if you want to sell something, you need to have your logo on that. So like, if they just like killed all the sellers who are just selling stuff from China and having all the same suppliers, and then you had like 3, 4, 5, 10 times the same product. And
Interesting.
And Amazon just said, no, now you cannot do that anymore. We want you to have your logo on that. So like, we just killed all of these sellers to maybe that to
Amazon
help
is way more controlling. That comes back to the element of trust, right?
Yeah.
Consumers trust them.
And I will also add something to that. Like, Amazon is also way more expensive than Shopee or Lazada. Like, the commission they take on sales are way higher. And
Absolutely.
This is definitely a very important factor to profitability, because like, if Amazon is taking 30% on the sales and Shopee and Lazada, I think it's close to zero.
Yeah, mostly because of Shopee at the moment.
They're
pushing it.
At some point, some point, like, you cannot compete with Amazon who take 30%. Like, of course, they make a lot more money, and on the long run, it is gonna, of course, like, just.
When I lived in Tokyo, Morgan Stanley was in this building called the Ote Center building. And like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th floors, I think, were all Morgan Stanley. And the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th floors were Merrill Lynch. And we hated those guys. No, we really did. And there was the reason why I'm asking this is because there's a bar downstairs in the building. And if like the 4 Merrill people were there first, like one Friday night, the Morgan people would literally stand like on the other side of the line.
Okay.
And then it would like mix in the middle, but it would never mix.
Yeah.
And if you quit, and then like if you quit Morgan Stanley and got a job at Merrill Lynch, you'd have to stand over here. I'm wondering if like how competitive the Shopee teams are with the Lazada teams. Do you know what I mean? Is it like a blood match right now? I don't know. I'm curious.
I would say no. There's also a lot of exchange of employees.
I'm sure
moving
they-
across
Right.
and in the whole industry, not just between the two. I would say no.
But do both of them survive, you think?
I think yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and you also just mentioned it, the whole cost structure and everything has to change at some point.
It does, right?
Yeah, so it will affect prices.
What will happen the day they say, hey, we cannot make it free now? It's going to be 10% or 20%
Oh, they will gradually increase it for sure.
to all of the sellers who are not used to it.
Yeah.
And like maybe a lot of them just gonna stop selling there because they're gonna say, hey, that's way too
Similar
much.
like
right?
an Amazon, right? So
That's way too much.
that's what I said. I think Amazon just really enforces more and controls the process more. But they're also in a different stage of growth than Lazada and
course,
Shopee are still, because it's a bit of a, it's geographically it's different, and it's a different growth factor that they have.
Yeah. I mean, look, one of the things we talk about on this show, and one of the reasons why we started it, was because we don't think that e-commerce is solved yet,
No, not at all.
right? So we
Yeah.
agree with you completely that it's still early days. And even today, just by sitting here for the last like 55 or 60 minutes, just talking about this stuff has made me rethink a few of the things that I thought,
Correct.
kind of thing.
So we kind of solved the question about Shogun, why they raised so much money, right? So
We did
sort
though,
of,
didn't
we
we?
sort of gave an answer, yeah.
I think we did, though,
Customized shopping experience and consultancy, what
Yeah.
we called it. Yeah.
in a roundabout way. But now it makes a lot more sense to me, which is why these types of shows are actually really interesting.
Yeah.
No?
I would love to be
Definitely.
here, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great to have you. It was great to have you.
Yeah.
And maybe we should just wrap it up here. Thanks again so much for coming and doing this
Thank you very much.
on a Sunday afternoon in this
you, Andre.
amazing True Digital Park.
Definitely.
It is amazing, yeah.
It's beautiful here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very nice place. Thank you very much, Michael. Thank
Thanks,
you very
guys.
much, Andre.
Thank you
Awesome.
very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.